'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh. So, today is the day the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 hit theaters and comes the end of an era of one of the greatest new teams we've seen in cinematic history. Now, when I say new teams, that's not entirely true. The Guardians of the Galaxy is a team of characters that have been in the comics for a while, previous to their cinematic debut in 2014. And in fact, they were characters that I had the pleasure of learning about before the movie came out, and I got to be one of those weird guys and annoying people in theaters being like, I know who they are and you don't. So back in 2014, I of course knew about the characters of Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot, Drax, and Gamora going into the theater. But I didn't know a ton about them. I let on that I knew way more than I did because I wanted to seem cool. I wanted to seem like I knew what I was talking about. But now the world knows these characters. Now the world can tell me who Groot is, who Rocket is, and Drax's backstory, and who Gamora's parents are, and who Star-Lord's parents are, for that matter. It's a whole thing. These characters have had a meteoric rise. It's incredible to see how much characters can grow from complete obscurity to just be in the popular zeitgeist for almost a decade now. Because in 2014, these characters were not household names. These characters were not pop culture icons, and a decade later, they absolutely are. The 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy really showed that Marvel was pretty much unstoppable at the time, and that any character they wanted to put on the big screen was going to become the next big thing. But previous to that, the exposures I had to these characters were a bit few and far between, but they were there. I was not talking out of my butt when going into the theater. I had heard of these characters before. For instance, Rocket was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which weirdly enough is a game that I did play back when it was new, or it wasn't brand new when I got it, but I had it on my Xbox 360 and I did play it, and to me, he was just a raccoon with big guns, which, I mean, I guess that wasn't too far off, but it is funny to go back and listen to him now, because he does not sound like the Bradley Cooper Rocket we kind of expect to hear now. He's British. He sounds smart. He doesn't sound gruff. He doesn't sound mean. He's a completely different Rocket than what we're used to.
The Guardians of the Galaxy are nothing without me.
And it's an interesting point to go back and see, because I don't remember, because no one even remembers this game. If he's in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, he would not have sounded the same. Another exposure I had to these characters as well was in Lego Marvel Superheroes, which is incredible. That game is so good. I was just thinking about it the other day. You know, I have a fondness for Lego games because I grew up with them, but that game in particular really blew me away, especially back then. Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Star-Lord, and Drax, they're all in it. They all have special side stories. None of them are part of the main story. They're all part of the open world side quest, which is honestly my favorite part of the game anyway, so it's not even that big of a deal. But they're all in the game, and they all have things to say and do, and they all have speech lines, and it's cool to see a game like that point out these characters, because I'm sure that the movie must have already been announced at the time, so they're trying to hype them up a little bit. And you can see, again, the progression of these characters, because in Lego Marvel 2, they're the first level. They're on the cover. They're a big deal at this point. People know who they are. They're not just side characters that show up in the open worlds. They are mainstays. They're a big, important part of the story. And it's obvious to see it's like Disney's going to be pushing them more and more and more because people love these characters. Star-Lord created Chris Pratt, and that sounds kind of mean because he had big parts before, but he became the Hollywood it boy because of it. Drax gave Dave Bautista a big acting career. Now he's not just known as Bautista the wrestler. He's Dave Bautista. He's an actor now. Gamora didn't give Zoe Saldana as much as some people think, because before this she was in Avatar and she was in Pirates of the Caribbean. She was a huge name before Guardians of the Galaxy, but it didn't hurt her at all. And Groot and Rocket didn't give much to Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper respectively, but it's another great notch on their belt. along the way. And, not a bad little paycheck, especially for Vin Diesel, who I'm sure doesn't do that much work for the role of Groot. But these movies were huge, and these characters are now huge. And we've expanded to include more characters in that massive lexicon. Stuff like Yondu and Mantis, those two are household names now pretty much as well. Not nearly as much as the main five, but still not nobodies. The big thing for me are the other video games that starred these characters, and it kind of proved to me, it's like, oh yeah, these characters are pretty big. One of them I have not played yet is the Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game. One that I forget a lot happens, and that game I'm sure is part of the reason why Telltale's not around anymore. Not to say that it's bad, because I honestly have no idea if it's a really good one or a really bad one, but because that game exists, and I'm sure cost a lot of money for licenses and to make, and I forgot all about it, and I think a lot of people forgot all about it because there was just a lot of Telltale games all at once, and people just kind of let them come and go, and they picked the ones they wanted sometimes to play. Like, I remember around the time I played the Batman one, I played the Game of Thrones one, but Guardians just kind of came and went. And sitting here now, I'm like, oh shoot, I really forgot about that game. I'm not saying it's all my fault, but I'm saying that a lot of people probably felt the same way. It's just like, all right, enough of these. Like, come on, there's so many. And they came so fast that there was no room to breathe in between. So they all happened at once, and it still exists. I still want to play it, but yeah, it's out there. Telltale, it's trying to come back. I'm super excited for Wolf Among Us 2, but hopeful for that. The other big one for me, though, is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which came out in 2021. Part of me doing this video is just an excuse to talk about this game some more, because I adore this game. I think it's one of the best games of the generation, period. There's not many games I put above it to talk about at all that have come out on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X consoles. I love it. I love the characters even more than some of them, even more than in the movies. The music is incredible. It's not as hand-picked as the movies are, because, James Gunn can fill a two and a half hour runtime with perfect songs to fit the perfect mood for that perfect scene, where in a video game you kind of have to just be able to play any song at any given moment, especially with the cool new system they have is the huddle, where you can huddle up with your team and you blast a song and you all get stronger, and it feels awesome. You get that moment of adrenaline that pumps through. It's an incredible thing. I love this game. They created a whole soundtrack for this game that's not licensed music, so if you just want to enjoy the game and so you hate every song on the list, they made a whole album for you to love that without it. And, that's even for, the streamers that wanted to stream the game and couldn't use the footage that had the licensed music in it because of how the music industry kind of is sometimes. They have a whole album for you to enjoy and play with your fans. It was great. It's just a great extra step that was not necessary, but I've listened to that album a ton. I think it's a great set of songs. The Star-Lord band, if they ever make a sequel to this game, I would love more songs from that fictional band. I think it'd be awesome. And that just goes on to the movies as well. The song choices they have are near impeccable sometimes. James Gunn is a master at choosing the songs for these characters, and after Volume 3 comes out, I'm going to really enjoy compiling every song from every Guardians piece of media into one nice Spotify playlist and just enjoying the entire Guardians of the Galaxy mix. Awesome mix, Volume 4, I guess, made by me. The complete set, whatever I call it. I'm going to really enjoy that. I have not done it yet. I know I could because the mix is technically out. I want to see how the music affects me in the movie, because even though when you see this video, I'll have seen the movie, but right now, I have not seen it as of recording this. I hope it's great. Marvel recently has not been on top of the world. I've heard mixed things. Some people seem to really enjoy it. I've not really heard a full review. I've only seen the numbers, which I understand isn't the best way to go about things, and I'm a proprietor of you should read the entire review, not just the score at the end. But that's the opposite of what I'm doing right now, because I don't want to accidentally slip any spoilers. This is a big important movie for me, and I want it to be as untouched as I can going in. Even if I hate it, I don't want to expecting anything. Here's hoping that the movie's incredible, and it can be put on best of the year list, because without that, I don't think Marvel's going to have one this year. The Marvels could be the one to do it, but I'm not so sure. The trailer wasn't bad, actually, though, but Ant-Man isn't going to do it. It'll be the first year I ever have a best of the year list without a Marvel movie, even though technically 2020, but that's just because they didn't have a movie that year. Regardless, I still have the game, I still have the movies I love, and if you have questions as to why I wanted the first movie behind me, it's because I used to own the first on DVD, and I just haven't upgraded yet. But that's my discussion on the Guardians of the Galaxy, where they were, where they're going. I'm nervous for the new movie, because someone's gonna die, I'm sure. I don't know that for sure. I'm not spoiling anything. That's just a pure idea, the pure out of my heart. I'm sure somebody's gonna die. So I'm not emotionally ready. I am physically ready to see that movie, though. I am excited, but I'm very nervous. If nothing else, I saw the game to go back and platinum still, so that'll be a blast to do that eventually. Hopefully we get a sequel to this. That'll do it for me. Thank you so very much for watching, and as always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.